Joining us now to discuss the Senate's proposed border deal and other options on the table is Mike Leon, host of the news commentary podcast, Can We Please Talk? Mike, welcome. How do you assess the key components of the Senate's proposed border deal?
Well, Steph, good to see you first and foremost. To Kelly's point right there at the last part of that package, he just said about Congress needs to do something about this. Senator Lankford is as conservative as the day is long sometimes. And everyone knows that him and Chris Murphy and Kyrsten Sinema, who represents a border state, have come together to put this legislation together. $118 billion that actually addresses some of the issues that Republicans and Democrats are both talking about, which is the fact that the border and CBP and ICE are understaffed and underwhelmed, and they need more help, and this allocates resources for that.
And yet
Steve Scalise had put something on Twitter. Yeah.
Well, there is obviously there's resistance in the House, and with many of the Republicans there saying it's dead on arrival, unless it includes more from their original border bill. How do you see this conflict playing out? Is there a chance that they could break through this impasse?
Well, I was just about to say, into it perfectly, because Steve Scalise is mentioning parts of the bill that Senator Lankford has refuted. He was on an interview earlier this morning on another network saying that the bill doesn't allow for 5,000 people to come in. It allows for DHS and emergency for the president to actually authorize closing down the border when it caps about 8,500 folks that are encountered daily. CBP statistics have said that over the last fiscal year from October up until now, there's been about close to 900,000 encounters, an average of about 8,200 folks that are encountered daily. This bill has provisions in place that would allow the president and Department of Homeland Security and Alejandro Mayorkas to be able to shut down the border. And the other thing that it does is the talking point of Steve Scalise about the encounters and that it lets migrants live here freely. That is not what it does. It actually allows them to seek asylum and their interviews within a 90-day period, or if not, they are sent back to their country of origin, which this bill accommodates for up to 77 repatriation flights a day. So the problem is really now about governing. To Senator Lankford's point, and other Republicans have said this, Chip Roy, who's a representative of Texas, has said this. Do we want to do something about this even though it's an election year? We have something right now that would allow for this and is kind of a compromise between what the two parties are offering in terms of tackling this solution. And yet it's going to be dead on arrival in the House. We have a member of the representative, Jasmine Crockett from Texas, who's coming on our show in the coming days. And she knows that this is not going to go anywhere because of what Speaker Johnson just said, to your point, Steph.
Yeah, we do have Biden saying, that there's doing nothing is not an option. And yet there are many things that he could have done, and in fact, some things that he undid when he came into office that have accelerated this crisis at the border. So how can we know that this bill will actually cause some change in that direction when there are options that he could be following at the moment, according to, analysis of many watching observers?
Right. No, I mean, it's a great point. Look, again, a different situation that he inherited, obviously, because of, what was happening during COVID. And we've seen the encounters spike under his administration year over year, right? I think the president inherited a tough situation. But again, under former President Trump, we saw that encounters were down up until the pandemic, and then it sharply went down because of Title VIII and what Title 42 was enforcing and the Remain in Mexico policy. I think the president right now needs to do everything he can to get folks behind either this bill or have Democrats have some type of additional compromise that is met, because it's not going to pass in the House, the smell test, because of the fact that Republicans control the House right now. The president's in a tough situation right now. Alejandro Mayorkas is facing impeachment hearings. We've got encounters that are going up. We've got the two agencies that are enforcing this border saying that they are overwhelmed and understaffed, and they need to get more resources in place. So right now we're all talking in circles. We all see the issues and the problems that are placing in front of us. It's available right there in terms of the data. The agencies are begging for more help. And I just don't understand why we can't get Speaker Mike Johnson to get the rest of the caucus in line with saying that, look, at least if we can sign this, we can champion this as a win in an election year and take this to November, where potentially we could win more House seats and potentially flip some Senate seats in our direction. I don't understand why nobody wants to actually meet that compromise.
Yeah, it looks like there's certainly efforts on both sides to make this issue, to resolve this issue. We will have to watch closely to see what happens next on this. Thank you so much, Mike Leon, host of the news commentary podcast, Can We Please Talk? Great to speak with you.
Thanks, Steph.